I want to talk about a little bit about codependency, or what we label codependency, because of course it's everywhere. If you really look, it's everywhere. We all are codependent in one way or another, and then there's a lot of people that are extremes, of course. But I mean, everybody's codependent in one way or another. Not everybody, but the most of us. And so we work on it. Like everything else, we grow and we become less attached and go inward and more self-love, and so we move forward and we ascend. But usually there's conditioning and trauma that we have to get over first, and during all that drama, there's usually codependency. It's almost guaranteed right off the bat in families. So we see it in most families to some levels. Some are extremes. There are some, they're rare, but there are some families that are so codependent, that are so intertwined. They're just up in each other's business, like all of their business, like the parents, the kids, like really up in each other's business at all times. All the way up into adulthood, just know way too much about each other, like personal details as opposed to knowing them, and just co-creating a drama. And we see this in families. They can go on and build for years, and then there's resentment and all kinds of other things. But amongst all of that chaotic drama, there's a lot of codependent behavior. And it can show in different forms. I mean, we see the variety is endless. It can get quite bizarre to some of us who haven't experienced it. Parents being jealous of kids, parents and or siblings mixing into the other's sexual world in one way or another, either sleeping with each other's partners or whatever. You can go as weird as you want there, but you got all that stuff. You got drugs and alcohol and addictive substances can play a weird role if it's a family that's more than one is if it's if it's more, not just one or two people, but a whole family addicted to different things, and you get all kinds of bizarre, the list goes on. There's mild versions, there's extreme versions. I'm listing more of the extreme versions. Big traumas that happen in families. Some families have really traumatic histories, and so that can fuel so much suffering and create codependent behavior. We see it, we take that into our lives. We see it, it's like the person that had an alcoholic dad who they hated for that and truly understood that, and then they end up dating, alcoholic after alcoholic. It's a subconscious need to repair an old wound, but it's also, there's a comfort there, a familiarity, and a codependency they're trying to replace. And we see it in abuse. Abuse is highly codependent. Highly codependent. When someone is drawn to abuse, we can even see it in relationships. Sometimes we can see somebody, I've seen it myself, where sometimes we can see people that are in abusive relationships, and then when they finally get out, but they still haven't quite dealt or moved past or understood truly what was going on in the previous ones, and then they get their dream relationship and they run away from it and go back to somebody more abusive or even worse than they've experienced. Perfect example, something in them needed to get that was addicted to that. That's just my perception. Sometimes people never leave abusive relationships. Sometimes they're more one-sided, codependent abusive relationships. Sometimes they're two ways, but there's a codependency there. They must need that familiarity. Without it, and so codependency, it's everywhere and everything. But in our interpersonal relationships, that's where we see it the strongest. And like I said, the varieties of it are just, I was listing more of the extremes, but there's more subtle layers in all of our lives. We see it in romance. Often the codependency more kicks in when it gets off the rails, right? When you're both feeling free and it's magic and all that at the start, you're still, you don't necessarily need at that point. There's that neediness hasn't set in, and the fears haven't kicked in yet. But you can't hide in a relationship, so it gets intimate quick, and then fears can't hide and they come up. And so usually quite often at this stage, when things go off the rail and a lot of habits start to be created or recreated from past relationships, then a codependency on that can start to form. And that's when it benefits us to recognize it right away and stop the train and go, whoa, 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 whoa. You're doing what you used to do and I'm doing what I used to do. Let's do something different. But anyways, yeah, codependency, it's even under society, we see it just reflects out of, and of course society is just a reflection of us. So of course we see how codependent we are on this society and on this current way things are done, which are completely do not serve us, completely hurt us. Well, they serve us in the sense of so we can ascend it, of course. So in the grand sense, of course, this is all meant to be and there's no mistakes. But looking closer up, though, it doesn't serve us anymore, and it does quite a lot of harm. The dependency we have on non-renewable resources, and the codependency we have on the system that we dislike, and it just goes on and on and on. We see it goes outward. We create from that place. So by addressing all these things, first you should just do it because, to grow and to be happy, to make the choice to be happy and enjoy your life. But the benefits when we work on these things is that then we're being the change, and as we change, then we will see that change in the world. It all starts with us. Self-love, self-examination, or reflection, I should say. Not examination, not up in here, but reflection. So codependency, if you're seeing it, first of all, be understanding and that everybody deals with it. So try to practice understanding and acceptance when you see it in others. And if you get in an intimate relationship, relationship that's beginning to be codependent, then codependent, I should say. Then go inward first, and then of course you'll talk about it. Try to set up a dialogue. It's the best you can do in anything. Set up a dialogue, but first go inward, so you go into it from a cooled place, from a more pulled back place. And if you recognize it in yourself, same thing. Go inward. Don't think of it as a problem to tackle. Just recognize it. Be grateful you recognize it, and keep going inward. Keep loving yourself. That's all you got to do. When it comes to these things like that we would like to ascend, it's best not to think of them as I got to change this. No, it's best to just recognize it and then do the opposite of that, which is self-love. And then those things will change in time naturally. Codependency or any other types of behavior or thinking or whatnot that doesn't serve you or you wish to ascend. So no codependency, yeah. It's a reality. We have to accept that it's here. It'll always be here in one form or another, but we can definitely and are ascending it. Great topic. Have a night.